Okay, y'all have a chance to look over the agenda. Motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor? All opposed? Changes. Approval of the minutes from April 14th. Y'all have a chance to look it over. And do I have any questions, changes? If not, entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion.
Motion made
I'll second.
and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Mr. Benson.
Supervisor, nice to be with you this evening. First thing I have for you is that South Michigan Food Bank will have a food distribution, 2 locations over the course of the summer now for October. It'll be on the third Thursday of the month. They will be in Hillsdale on Care Drive at Southeast Michigan Works from 10 a.m. to 11:30, and then they will change locations and move over to Litchfield, be behind their municipal complex where their fire station, police station, city hall is there. Their back parking lot, they're going to be there from 1 to 2:30, and I have a handy poster. Please be sure that with everyone. It is my understanding you're basically no qualification. You can just go and say, I need food in my household. The boxes that they have food for 4 meals in them. If you have more than 4 people in the house, then they will just request you or request another box. They will also have some commodities. I believe that they have potatoes, onions I've heard, at least until they run out, some garden seeds, and I've also heard frozen French fries. So, like I say, anyone who can take advantage of that, please get that word out. Tomorrow, our Board of Commissioners meeting, we will again take up the issue of whether or not the citizens of Hillsdale County should back bonds, which will help with the construction of Lifeway's new building. Of course, they are moving from their current location on Care Drive, and they want to build a new 21,000 square foot building. They would like the county to pledge our full faith and credit to borrow $15.5 million for 20 years on their behalf, in a very similar manner as to we did with the senior center. So this is not an unprecedented thing. Necessarily know that the county needs to be in the banking business, but not unprecedented. We did a very similar thing that the county takes ownership of the property, and then the entity, in this case Lifeways, they would then lease that building for 20 years. They would make payments that would cover all the costs of the repayment on those bonds, and then at the end of that period of time, that property, once that loan was satisfied, those bonds were satisfied, and that property would be transferred to them. Just circling back to Senior Center. Senior Center, actually, they have paid off their bonds. I believe that was done in April, and if we have not already, we've given them that quick claim deed to that property. So we've got a huge amount of input on this, a lot of different contingencies within the committee. I know personally I've received over 70 emails in opposition to the idea of it. I have previously voted 3 times, twice on the actual subject, of whether or not we should move forward with it, and then the last time submitting it to bond council. Bottom line is we are on the hook if they default, if their funding goes away, they suddenly decide that they don't need 21,000 square feet. The taxpayers are on the hook. So I'm sure that will be a huge topic of discussion tomorrow with a lot of public comment. Our farmers market at the courthouse has begun their year this year, and they always open up on Mother's Day weekend, and they're there in the courthouse parking lot from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m., and I think we're now in our 17th year having them there. They were off the parking lot completely for a year with our construction. Last year, they really wanted to get back off the street downtown Hillsdale, and so they kind of wedged around the construction stuff that we had there. But the parking lot, of course, was all cleared out with the completion of that construction, and they are back there. I walked through the market on Saturday morning, and a lot of nice vendors there. So take advantage of that. Pam and I have visited farmers markets all across the state, and I really have to say that we have one of the nicest markets around. Tomorrow we will also have a discussion on increasing our county parks budget by $15,000. At our last Board of Commissioners meeting, we had a joint meeting with the Parks Commissioners, which are also the Road Commissioners. And so they presented a case of why that they are falling behind in funding there with the facilities there at Park. And so they made a request that we do give them that increase. And so we will have a resolution on that tomorrow to increase that budget line item by $15,000. I don't know what that will look like going forward after this year's budget, if that is approved. Tomorrow we will hear the annual update from our county medical examiner. Dr. John Mano is the Jackson and the Lenawee County medical examiner as well. Medical examiner comes and presents that annual report about deaths and causes of them every year to the Board of Commissioners. Once that is complete, we accept that. That will be available on the county website under the public safety tab. And I do know in reviewing the review copy of that, our deaths were down. This would be for 2024, last week, trailing information. So I know that our deaths were down from 2023 and 2024. Tomorrow we will also have 3 proposals in regards to architecture expense for the remodeling of the now Lifeways and soon to be the home of our 2nd District Court. Of course, the need for us to move there is that we sold a couple of years ago the current building, the courthouse annex building, and we have to begin vacating. We have to be out of the 2nd floor of that building by April of next year, and then we have 2 more years where we have to be completely out of that building, and so consequently we need to find a new home for that court. The best place for it, relatively close in square footage, is the Lifeways building, and of course Lifeways will be vacating that. District Court will fill the upper floor of it. Southeast Michigan Works will continue to rent the lower floor of that. And so we do have 3 proposals. One of them is from the architectural firm that designed our courthouse elevator addition back. I think that proposal was submitted in about 2005, and we did that work in 2006 and 2007. It was a great project. They did a really nice job for us. I was really glad to see that they are putting in a proposal on that. The expense of that, we had told them when we went out for bids, we'd like to keep it under $2 million. All 3 of them came back and said you would be overly optimistic in thinking that you will get it done for that. It is my belief that we'll probably pay about $350 a square foot for that project, so that works out to about $3.5 million. So I would be surprised if we can get it done for less than 3, so stay tuned on that. I did have the opportunity last week to attend the Great Lakes Homeland Security Office representing the County of Hillsdale. Of course, I serve as the Public Safety Chair, so appropriate that I represent the county in that role. A lot of great speakers there, a lot of different topics, some very, very interesting stuff on cyber warfare, some interesting stuff on drone attacks, and how drones have now become weaponized, and they are very relatively inexpensive that you can make a weapon out of a drone. So, we think of the big ones that they've used over the Middle East, but you can just take your garden variety, couple $100 drone, and weaponize that thing. So a lot of good information there, and it was a really, really great time to attend. And that concludes my report. Unless you have questions for me.
Anybody have questions for Mr. Benson? Mark?
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Mr. Commissioner, I appreciate you voting no on the Lifeways bond issue in the past, and I would encourage you to do the same tomorrow. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
I have only 2 things, I guess one. Looking at LRS, could you explain what's happening with LRS as far as coming in to the county, say, for every dumping that might be allocated?
All I can tell you is they're a private company, so we have no contract with them. Several local units do have contracts with them in order to provide trash pickup for the entire community, but there's nothing that the county is doing.
So there's not going to be one centralized entity with one.
No. So if you're thinking about our materials management plan planning committee, they have, and there actually is a representative from LRS recycling component. He's also on the Lataway County Materials Management Committee as well. There are statutory requirements, but there is absolutely, that's not something we're going to do. So,
All right. The last question I have is 911.
okay.
We've gotten the computer system installed, that has been complete.
Yep.
And at that time, we've been using this dollars, we call our phones, $3.
Right.
And you had initiated, I think the other day, the last commission I was at there was $2.95.
Right.
With that being said, the $3, the idea of looking at the dollars, where does that go? When, several months ago, you stood here and you said we weren't looking at expanding the community, let's say, with new employment. And then we went ahead and ended up with a manager, that means Tom, Tom, to step down and go to deputy, I should say, or under management part. And he was pretty adamant about why it was we had to hire a new individual to take that overall position of manager. And that brought in new monies that we have to spend as well. The $2.95, where would that go? And should we not allocate some of that money towards the future, like we've done over in Branch County? The dollars went towards putting a new jail in, instead of sucking the people out of dollars to make a new, I don't mean to sound like, I'm ugly about it, but frankly, it's just, we're getting tight, everyone's tight. And so I'm just asking where couldn't we allocate some of that money towards the jail, which they've done in Branch County, and then at the very end, they actually, in Branch County, for that jail, they went to the public for $1.5 million. Now, I think that was computed correctly, but maybe I will off. But there was only a little bit left over, using the 911 or this money from our dollars, from our, cell phone.
You got a whole lot to unpack there, Bob. You have like three different issues. Okay, so first of all, surcharge money, you have $3, up to $3, okay, can only be used for central dispatch, okay? So that's 911. Emergency management, which is the new full-time position that we created, that has nothing to do with 911, okay? So consequently, we cannot use dollars from the surcharge for any other purpose than providing 911 services. So, we built a building out there, I think in 2016. We were renting an old building from Frontier out in Osseo. We built the new call center, and so we made a number of different improvements over the years. Of course, maintained our current VHF system. So we took on the responsibility, I believe back in 2013, we took over emergency medical dispatching, EMD, reading emergency unit, did that for all the units within the county. They actually were being paid by that by all the other ambulance providers. They were getting $10.50 for every call they dispatched. They said, we're not going to do it anymore. And so the county, our 911 center, took that over. That is an expense that we can pay for. That cost us right out of the gate about $600,000 when we took that over back in 2013, because we had to buy software, we had to buy modems, we had to train all of our, that means sending those employees away. It's not something that they can just do, at least at that time, to do locally. They actually had to go away. So we had a bunch of expenses, and it took a while for us to get up there. So 911 dollars can only be used for 911. So we did make the emergency management position a full-time position. So that is partially funded by Homeland Security dollars that come down from Michigan State Police, okay? However, the difference between the funding that we received for them and the amount that we are paying Mr. Laudermilk for his salary is being made up from the general fund. So, and as far as the jail goes, that's a whole other thing. Branch County, they had a millage, they voted for a millage to fund their new jail. And I believe the number I had heard on that works out to about $210 for every cell they build.
Well, thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah.
Other questions? Yes, sir.
Thanks for doing what you do to be able to answer questions. Appreciate it. On this LifeWays thing, it sounds like your position is not to go along with backing them up. Is that?
That's correct.
Yeah. The other thing I was wondering about, they want to build a whole new structure, right? Why can't they find some kind of an empty building or spots where they can renovate it to their accommodation, wouldn't that be, well, like you just said, it might cost you $3 million to do what you're gonna be doing with the board. Couldn't they do something like that rather than go for a whole new building? Is that been discussed or presented?
So it's my understanding that they did do that. They actually, I know they looked at the building where, OMC, Osborne Marsh Condon, is located here, Township is in the other half. They looked at that building, they looked at another bunch of other properties. I know they wanted to stay within the city limits of Hillsdale because Hillsdale has dollar transportation. If they go outside the city limits, then a large segment of their population they serve would not have transportation. So transportation is we talk about a lot of different places, veterans and employment and things. So anyway, they wanted to stay within the city of Hillsdale. They did look at a bunch of buildings and they were unable to find anything that was suitable. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Benson.
Thank you.
Fred, I have a question.
Yes.
That 15.5 million, that bond,
Yes.
goes over how many years?
It'd be 20 years.
20 years?
Yeah.
And that's leased?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
leased.
so I think principal and interest, it works out just about $1 million a year.
Okay.
So. Great. And thank you. I'm a rubber band.
Thanks, Brad. Mark Clement.
Thank you for having me. We're talking about the parks. Hillsdale County Parks is going to have a kids fishing derby tentatively June 7th at Lewis Center Park. And so then anyone that has a kid or wants to be a kid can come there and try their luck at catching a fish. On the road commission end of it, at our last meeting, we discussed work to be done on the primary roads. And for those people that don't know, we have a two-tier system in the county of primary and secondary roads. The primary roads are the direct responsibility of the road commission. The secondaries are done on a contract basis with the townships. And the proposed primary road repairs, we have 9 miles of paver patching spread over an 11.5 mile distance. And that will result in the use of 9,000 tons of asphalt. And we have 4 miles of primary chip and fog seal. The roads that are going to be paver patched are County Line Road, County Line to Hadley and Litchfield Township, Walworth Road, Sterling to Jerome, that would be in Somerset, Jerome Road, Addison to Chandler, that's also in Somerset, Church Road, that would be in Wheatland, Waldron to Oaks, Waldron Road, just north of M34, I believe that's Pittsford Township. Pittsford Road, north of Prattville. Pittsford Road, north of Camden Road. I believe that's Ransom Township. Territorial Road, Coke to 49, I think that's Amboy. McCollum Road, county line to the village of Montgomery, that would be in Camden. Camden Road, village of Camden to Carpenter. And Lilac Road, Cambria to South Hillsdale, that's in Cambria Township. Now the chip and fog seals will be North Adams Road, Millens to Dennis, that they paper patched last year that we didn't get fog sealed. Camden Road, Pittsford to Waldron. Montgomery Road, Long Lake to M49, and Montgomery Road, Cambria to South Hillsdale Road. And on Adams Township, we've been doing work on Bird Lake and Blackbridge Road. And the stumps, we've completed the tree work, the stumps to be removed, and ditching to follow. And as far as the brine, we started in Camden Township. I don't know if I told you, but we are doing it different this year. We used to start in the north one year and then start in the south the next. This year we're going to start on the west side of the county. Camden Township up through to Litchfield Township, and then move over and then back down again. And they started scraping with the graders in Camden Township, but they were delayed by the 2 and some odd inches of rain we got, so they started over. Our goal, weather permitting, is to be done brining by July the 4th in the whole county. That's weather permitting. On the political front, can I have one of those, please? I give out. I attended along with Road Commissioner Schmidt and Road Commissioner Leininger, the Southeast Council of Road Commissions. That consists of Branch, Calhoun, Jackson, Hillsdale, Lenawee, Washington, and Monroe. And while we were there, we found out that the person from Eagle that we've been dealing with is going to retire, and there were smiles all the way around the table.
We don't have any.
But this is a handout that I'm giving. This is the transportation, the Senate, Michigan Senate, Transportation Infrastructure Committee. And I have emailed the members of this already and explained the situation in Hillsdale County and the surrounding counties. One of the members is Veronica Kleinfeld. She's the majority vice chair. I had her on video stating that 80% of the local roads are in good condition. So I promptly emailed Veronica and explained to her that, or I didn't explain to her, I explained to her staff that 50% good condition wouldn't catch the roads in most of the counties in this area. I did receive a response back from her office, which I was surprised and pleased. None of the others responded back. If you look on here, you'll see some of the Republicans, starting with Joe Bellino, Edward McBroom, Roger Victory, and John Bumstead. They all understand the situation. They all come from districts that have a lot of local roads in it. In fact, I talked with Senator Bellino at the conference, and I explained to him that I was going to email Democratic representatives or senators on this committee, and he thought that was a great idea. He said that they need to hear from people in the rural areas, because most all of these are from the metropolitan area. So if anybody would like to send a message, the phone number here is for the clerk, and you really can't call her. She's just who takes care of the committee's business. But if you have internet access and you can get onto these, most of these members want to communicate by email. They don't really want to communicate by phone. So if you have internet access, you can get on the transportation's website. You can click on each one of these and send them an email. And hopefully, as what Senator Blingle told me, they are not really discussing the road funding bills that the Republicans sent, or the House of Representatives passed and sent over. They're all staying very quiet for some reason. So I think we need to put a little bit of information to them. So anyone that would be, and be polite, be respectful, don't, send them a bad email. But just explain to them that the roads are deteriorating faster than the road commissions can repair them. And I guess other than that, there's going to be work on M99 this summer. Probably from July, the completion date is November, but according to Matt Word, the drain commissioner, who's the project manager of it, he expects them to be done before November. But that road will be closed for most of the summer, and there will be a detour there. So anybody going south on 99, plan on taking a detour. Other than that, I've got an extra one of these if somebody wants one. And that's my report. I'll be glad to take questions, comments.
I heard the culvert on M49 just north of Camden is, do you know anything about that?
North 49.
Just north of the village of Camden, where that little S curve is, there's a culvert there.
I don't know if I have heard anything on that. MDOT is going to replace the bridge in Camden. but that's not scheduled until next year.
Oh, that's next year, maybe that's what it is.
Well, if there's a culvert,
That's the bridge, that's on the diagonal there.
yeah,
That's just north of town.
yeah. But if there's a culvert that needs to be replaced, that probably can be done in just a few days. It won't be. In fact, a lot of times our culvert, they can go away in time.
The bridge is next year, 26.
We had a meeting with, MDOT at the, council chambers in Hillsdale. And they had their maps and drawings and all that up and explained that to us.
Thank you.
Anybody else got anything?
You're talking about 99
M&L.
south.
Yes,
Where's it
Camden
start?
Road, it's just north of Camden.
Oh,
In fact, we're working on Camden Road right now because that's gonna be part of the detour. But we had to, pulverize it, and we're repaving part of it, so to take the extra traffic. All right, thank you very much.
Okay. Moving on, Mr. Dane.
Good evening, everyone. So, first order of business is, we finally have the directory, so, I do have a few extras. If anyone wants any, I'll leave some right here. And there's more at the clerk's office, and some of the businesses that are advertising there should have some more as well. I know that that's a long-standing tradition to have those published every 2 years. My hat's off to one of your own here in the village. Doug Adams opened up the North Adams Print Shop and worked to help get advertising and print those so that there was no expense to the county. So, and it's a local business that we're supporting there, so that's good. I wanted to give an update on the clerk's report from 2024 numbers and what the clerk's office did last year. This is a report that statutorily is supposed to be given to the county clerks every year, and I thought I would travel around and let the townships also know about this as well, and some of these things. So, clerk's office has 4 budgets that we were in control of. The clerk's budget is revenues of $86,767 last year, and expenditures of $300,636. So we offer a lot of services, and we can only charge for those services if there's a resolution from our Board of Commissioners with a fee schedule or something in statute that allows us to charge. And so our revenues are not as much as our expenditures, and that's just the nature of what we do. So elections budget is the second one. Last year was a big year for that. We had revenues of almost $150,000 and expenditures of $263,000. So some of the reimbursements that we get from the state of Michigan for a lot of the elections last year and implementing early voting and all of that hadn't completely come through as of December 31st. So that revenue should be probably closer to $175,000. Not all the revenue or the reimbursements from the state of Michigan came in. So our third budget is our CPL budget, and that's the revenues basically equal the expenditures, or at least they did last year. So that was about $22,000. And that's a statutory thing where a portion of the CPL revenue comes in either if someone renews and goes through State of Michigan's website. You can renew by going to the Michigan State Police State of Michigan website, and we're doing that way. Or you can renew in our office, and then new applicants have to come in and we have to see them in person. Either way, there's revenue sharing between the State of Michigan and the county, and statutorily each one gets a percentage of that. So jury is our fourth budget, and that's just expenditures. We don't make any on that. We had expenditures of about $6,800 last year. So moving on to some of our vital statistics. Birth records we'll start with. So we can only record a birth record or a death record if it happens in our county. So a lot of times people births, because we have our own birthing center in Hillsdale, a lot of those are are right here in this county, but deaths, a lot of times people go to a bigger hospital and die outside of the county, so that, just keep that in mind when you hear these numbers. We had 423 babies born in 2024 that were born in Hillsdale County. We do have a lot of home births in our county with Amish, and my own children were born at home too. I'm not Amish, just to make that clear. But, so 423 babies, that was up about 7% from 2023. And then of course we also keep these vital records on file. We go back well into the 1800s on births, marriages, deaths, and other things as well. So we sell certified copies of those things to the public if they need them for legal work, or if someone wants to look into ancestry. It doesn't have to be certified in that case, but we sell copies for things like that. So we sold about 1,400 birth certificates last year. Death records, we had a decrease about 3% from 2023 to 2024. We sold, no, not the death certificates, we had 355 death records in our county, and then we sold about 3,000 death certificates in 2024. So, we also take in the notary applications, so if someone wants to be a notary public, in statute, they have to see their county clerk's office. They have to have a notary bond with an insurance company and pay $10 in statute to get that notary application, and then we fill out our part of it and keep their oath on file from their bond, and then they can send the remaining application with what we filled out to the state of Michigan. They have to pay them an additional $10 to get that notary. So we had 82 of those. That was up from 67 the year before. And then assumed business names, DBAs, doing business as. We took in 225 of those in 2024. That's up 18.5%. We had 190 in 2023. Marriages are a little bit different. You come into your county clerk's office. So if you're a non-Michigan resident, you have to apply in the county that you're going to get married in. So we get some of those, college students want to get married in Arboretum, whatever. If you're getting married, if you're a resident of the state of Michigan, either the bride or the groom can file in the county that they live in, and then they can get married anywhere in the state. So that's kind of how that works. And then they go to the county clerk's office, they get an affidavit to get married, kind of like an application, basically. They have to wait 3 days for a sobering up period, and then they can get that's in statute, it goes back a long ways. They can get their marriage license then, not filled out at that point, but then they have 30 days to get married. So not all the affidavits turn out to be marriages, because some people get cold feet and things like that. But we tracked the affidavits. We had 289 in 2024. That was up a little bit. We had 245 in 2023. And then we sold 542 marriage licenses. So some people get more than one copy, or they'll go back and get one from years past certified. So sold 542 of them. Now concealed pistol licenses, that went up about 20% last year. We had 951 applications processed in 2024, and 300 of those were new, and 651 of those were renewals. And I've been hearing across the state from my counterparts that CPL applications are going up again this year. There's more people getting them. We haven't seen a huge uptick in Hillsdale, but it is up a little bit. We also allow people to come in and get county IDs in our office. So if someone doesn't have a state of Michigan ID, they need to get employment for some reason, a lot of times it's faster to just come in the county clerk's office and get that photo ID. So you have to prove your residency to get that, and then we take your picture and put it on a nice card, laminated card. So we did 9 of those last year. We don't do a whole lot of those, but usually when someone gets one, they don't have a state ID and they need to get a job and they need to have a photo ID. So We also filed 2 military discharges, DD-214s are called, discharges. That's something a lot of people don't know that we do, and that's in statute as well. The county clerk's office takes in, at no charge, those DD-214 discharge paperworks from our veterans, and we store those permanently in our vault, and then if they want a certified copy of that at any time, we provide that at no cost to our veterans. County clerk's office is also a clerk of the circuit court, and we had 335 domestic cases that we filed last year. Most of that is divorce, custody, things like that. We had 103 civil cases. Those are anything non-criminal that don't include the divorce, custody, domestic cases. So your appeals, name changes, civil suits, things like that. We had 261 personal protection orders filed last year. That's actually down a little bit, which is nice because those are usually not fun. And then 210 criminal cases, that's up. Criminal cases continue to go up. There's a lot to do with that. Not all just because of the depravity of our society, but things like a new, relatively new circuit court judge. She's still in her first term, and a new prosecutor, and things like that kind of influence those numbers. So 909 cases filed last year, and of course we have to take in, all those cases have multiple filings, whether they have an attorney or they're representing themselves, they come in and file those things. So it's a large part of our traffic at the clerk's office is handling that. So we also are clerk to the family division of the probate court, so we handle juvenile delinquent cases from our probate court. We have those files also in the county clerk's office. 98 of those were filed in 2024. We also take in neglect abuse cases, 47 of those, and some of those result, that's like foster care stuff, and some of those result into adoption. So we had 50 adoption cases filed in 2024. Not all of those come from situations where kids are in foster care. Sometimes relatives adopt, grandkids and things like that. So that was up though. We were up about 50%. We had 33 adoptions the year before. Jury trials. We had 709 jurors that were called to serve in 2024, and 310 jurors called to serve in 2023, so that was up quite a bit. So jurors called to serve means you actually showed up. Doesn't mean you sat on the jury, but you showed up and you were sitting there during jury selection. Okay, so that's a big increase. We had 7 jury trials in 2024. A little over 1,700 jurors were called to appear. So that's where you get the postcard that says, call this number the night before, and many times those get delayed or postponed, and so you don't end up coming in. But we manage all those. In fact, just today, some of you will be lucky enough to get something in the mail soon, because we just printed 3,000 jury questionnaires today that are going to be going in the mail very soon. So don't be mad at me when you get it. It's just part of how it works. Let's see. So then, FOIA requests. So we don't have anything in a resolution that says so-and-so is a FOIA coordinator for the county. So by default, according to the statute, the FOIA Act, the chairman of the commissioners is our FOIA coordinator. But we have this helpful program. It's helpful to us, and I think it's helpful to the public, where they can go on our website to a FOIA portal, enter in the information, and then we can track it internally, and it goes through my office, and it gets funneled to the proper department or office. So it's a handy tool, and it also makes it easier, I think, for the public to fill that out and get the request in. So we had 408 total unique requests in 2024. 246 of those were for the sheriff's office, 67 for the clerk's office, 39 for central dispatch, and so on. So most of that is from the sheriff's office. People wanting copies of police reports and so on. So then, getting into our election statistics, last year we had 4 elections. The presidential primary in February was the first, kind of a unique thing that happens every 4 years. We had 8,321 ballots cast in February. Voter turnout was about 27%, so 26.78% voter turnout. Absentee, from that, there were 38% absentee, 4% early voting, and 58% election day voters. So that was the first time we had early voting, 4%, a little under the state average, but about what we expected for this county, certainly, in that first election. May, we had recall election, Camden Frontier, and the unique thing there is they had to collect over like 450, I want to say, signatures they had to collect to get that recall initiated. And then on election day, only 365 people came out to vote, so I just find that interesting. It may not have helped that there was a tornado warning, and for about 20 minutes the election inspectors were in the basement, but that was only a few minutes, so kind of a crazy day. I still remember that. Voter turnout was 15.58%, 24% absentee, no early voting on that one, and 76% voted on election day. And then in August, ballots cast were 10,175 for a primary. Voter turnout did go up, but it was nothing compared to our November, which I think is sad because in this county especially, the August primary is the most important election to decide local elections. So it would be nicer if voter turnout was higher in August, but we had 32.49% voter turnout. 37 of those were absentee voters, 4% again early voting, and 59% election day. So relatively the same statistics as our February primary. Then in November, we had 24,980 ballots cast. That was 77.17% voter turnout countywide. 27% of that was absentee, 19% early voting, and 54% election day. The early voting in that one really surprised me. So there was lines, constant stream of people. If there wasn't a line, it was still just steady, constant for 9 days, 8 hours a day. So that was fun. Looking back, it was fun. In the moment, it wasn't necessarily fun all the time, but definitely a unique experience, and we learned a lot from that. So those, and I guess I'll get into just your precinct here with the turnout there. So you guys had 1,400 voters in November, and your local turnout in this precinct was 76.88%. So just here under the county turnout. So these reports are on our website. They come from our election management system, and I want to note that the number of registered voters we use here are pulled from the qualified voter file a week or two before each election. And since about 2022, I've been not including the non-active, or the inactive, I should say, inactive voters that are on the voter roll. So according to federal law, we have to keep people on the voter rolls even if we think they may have moved away or something, because most people aren't going to turn in their driver's license when they move to a different state, or really even a different county or precinct. So we have to figure that out another way, right? So sometimes when we send out election mail, it will come back with that yellow sticker on it. That's a good way to know someone may be moved. But even then, you can't cancel their voter registration. You can only cancel it if you have first-hand knowledge, a death record, something, or they come in person and say, I want to be registered to vote. So that's why we have this constant section of our voter rolls that are inactive. And if someone gets on the inactive, because we all know how wonderful the post office is, and we send something in the mail, we know the address is right, it still comes back with a yellow sticker. That sometimes happens. People get on that inactive file, and they shouldn't be. So if they were to come in and vote, there would be an extra step of verifying that they are still at that address in the precinct, and then they flip back to active again. But a lot of those are just people that have left, and we can't get rid of them until 2 election cycles. So that's an important thing to remember. They fall off the voter rolls after 2 election cycles, and then they're canceled, okay? So because of that, with that in mind, I have not been putting that in these reports that are on our website. I've not been including them. And I've heard some talk about how our number of registered voters has fluctuated, a lot, and that's the explanation. It's explainable, and I can show anyone that wants at whatever time that it's going to fluctuate day to day, anyways. People move in and out, but that's the reason why there's a fluctuation between 2022 and after that. I can't remember which election it was that I made that decision, but before that, Marnie and Tom Moore before me, they had used the lower number as well, that were just the active voters. And then somewhere around 2016, I think, is when, for some reason, they went back to using the bigger number. So countywide, we have 32,000, or we did back, it should be relatively the same now. This was November's number, though, 32,372 active registered voters. And if you include the inactives countywide, it's closer to a little over 37,000. So, and then another thing about the qualified voter file that I hear sometimes, and I want to just straighten up, is that it's a tool that the clerks use to track our voters. It's important to be as accurate as possible. I don't deny that, but it is just a tool, and you got to consider the fact that the way it's set up, and this is a good thing because there's many eyes on it, there's many people involved, and that creates accountability. But there are over 1,500 township clerks, many of which have deputies, and they have access to the qualified voter file. You have over 250 city clerks and their staff. You have 83 county clerks and their staff, and you have the Secretary of State and the Bureau of Elections, and all of those people all are trained and have access to the qualified voter file. And most of those people are, and consider the people in the Secretary of State branch offices where you go to renew your driver's license. They don't have direct QGIF access, but what they're keying in gets put into the qualified voter file. So all these people are inputting data into the system. And that's why there's human error, things that don't make sense all the time. And it's explainable. But what you have to understand is if you really care about knowing that our elections are secure, you have to look at the canvassed vote totals, compare that to the canvassed totals that the state has. And I can show you they match. You just have to know where to look and look in the right places. So you can't pull a report from the qualified voter file that says how many people voted in this precinct for this election. That's a tool, and it's tracking voter history, but that voter history moves with people. I've heard talk about our former state rep and his voter history. He lives in Adams Township still. You look up an election where he didn't live in this township, but he voted. It's going to say he voted, and it's going to say, basically it's saying he lives in this township now, but it doesn't spell that out in words. So I think 2020, he wasn't in Adams Township. You run a report in QVF, or if I were to run a report that says who voted from Adams Township right now, but who participated in a 2020 election, it's going to show his name, and all that means is that he voted in 2020. It doesn't mean he voted here. So you got to understand the report you're looking at. And I just want to set the record straight on some of that. So with that, I don't think I have anything else, unless anyone has any questions.
I ran out of name.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So, the county active voters were how many? 32,000?
372. That was in November.
And what was the inactive?
I don't have the inactives in just that number, but the total numbers together, the actives and inactives together, if you want to do the math, it was a little over 37,000. So. 10 problems, I'm sorry. Any other questions? I would, yes.
I want to commend you and thank you for bringing those directories. I found those through the years to be very helpful, and you as county clerk, I believe, take the initiative to put those out,
Yeah.
if I'm not mistaken. So I hope that we'll find this one's every bit as good, if not better, than the ones we've had in the past. I would encourage people to get them and look at them. It gives you kind of an overview of what we have in the county, as well as a lot of phone numbers, addresses, etc. So, thank you.
Yeah, they get inaccurate real quick as time goes by. Already there's a thing to that because the Wright Township clerk resigned recently, and they've appointed another actually wonderful person who's going to make a great clerk. But you know, they only stay accurate for so long. So the other thing I forgot to mention is that please check our website. You can now, ahead of coming into our office, you can fill out a CPL application, a marriage license affidavit, your DBA, your notary application, things like that. You can apply for online. Many of those things you have to come in the office to actually finish the transaction, but at least you can get that work done ahead of time and limit the time that you're in that tiny little vestibule in our office. So we also have a tool on our website where you can search our index of death, marriage, and DBAs for the county going way back. And then if you're interested in something, you can click right there and get a certified copy of it. So that's a neat tool that we have on our website now. We can't make the birth searchable because that's protected information, but the deaths, marriages, and DBAs are on there. So. Yes?
Okay, you said it in 2022, you went back to removing the inactive from your
From the
numbers.
reports, yes.
If you're required by law to keep them on records, they're still registered voters. Why do you not?
I checked with other counties throughout the state, and then if you looked at the state's voter, I think it was called the voter dashboard or something that they put out last year that showed how many people were voting early and absentee and all that stuff leading up to the election. And then on election day, they were using just the actives as well. So
Well, if they show how many people voted, then that doesn't matter if they were active or inactive.
well, it's giving a percentage of voter turnout based on that number.
Okay.
Yeah.
Understand, okay.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. I'm going to head out.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
We're going to move on, public comment. Keep it peaceful, keep the questions to the board. Do not talk amongst yourself. And 3 minutes. Mr. Beach.
I'm here to request, Memorial Day, we always have the parade in our memorial service for veterans at the cemetery. That area that we've been using throughout the years, is getting filled in. And you can't get we normally average a little over 100 people, and it's hard to get everybody in there without standing all over somebody's grave. That bothers me personally. I'm kind of spooky, I guess, I don't know, but I would like to request that we find a spot out here between your parking lot and the cemetery. Bring a flag stand, put a flag on for the day. Because I understand the flag got broke out, the flagpole got broken.
That'll be remedied by.
But that's fine. I just want permission to do that. It's not my yard, I figured I better ask.
Anybody else? No?
Maybe if you want to discuss it and call me later, it's fine.
Oh, that's fine. We don't see a problem with you being in the yard. You can use our flag if you want.
Well, if we do it up there, this flag down here is a little far away, so that's all.
Yeah.
Put one on a stand up there. We'll just put some chairs up for people to sit in and a couple of shade tents for the elderly people. All right?
Sure.
Thank you very much. If you don't mind, I'm gonna leave. I got grandpa duties.
Okay.
I gotta leave her back.
Anybody else, public comment?
Thank you.
Mr. Nichols first.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. I see later on in the agenda you have planning commission raise request. I would propose that you request the planning commission to recommend and vote on repealing the zoning. The board could then vote on that. I'm here to tell you that I do not believe that the planning commission really knows what they are doing.
We're all learning, Mark.
Well, we have laws.
Yeah, we're working on it. Okay, anybody else? Mr.
Or megalovisanakis, if you want the Greek version. May I approach? I just want to have these on record, but I'm going to talk about that. I was kind of stunned last week about the marijuana processing issue that came up. So I did a little research on that issue. I was heavily involved with it when it came up. So in 2018, the Recreational Marijuana Act was passed in Michigan. The act covers growing, processing, retail, transportation, and testing. So to my understanding, what these folks want to do is process. On January 8th, and that's part of what I gave you there, Planning Commission meeting, and I noted that, Jason, you were actually at that meeting. We presented a copy of the Jonesville Recreational Marijuana Ordinance. We noted that the Adams Township vote on the proposal was 55% against. The Planning Commission at that time agreed that the township should opt out, and the MTA had the appropriate opt-out form that they were to use. The Planning Commission decided at the time to recommend to the board that the township opt out. Note that the terms used were opt-out ordinance. I have not seen anything referring to a resolution or a moratorium. A resolution to hold off on making a decision is a resolution. Now, this is what I see. The other thing I've given you there is an article from the Free Press. And in that article, it outlines all the townships that opted out at the time. And you'll notice Adams Township, Jonesville, Hillsdale City, Hillsdale Township. I think that's all. Those are all reported to be opted out, not a resolution of moratorium. So I'm a little confused. If these guys were allowed to go forward with their processing plant, if we're opted out, the state of Michigan is going to reject their license. They're going to see that we are an opted out township. So I need an explanation as to where this moratorium concept came in. I don't see it in any of my notes. At the meeting that was held on March 11th of 2019, the board meeting, the ordinance, my notes show the ordinance was accepted by roll call vote. Pat Williams abstained because Darrell was on the planning commission and she felt she shouldn't vote. But by roll call, it was passed at the board meeting. So I'm curious, the process of getting back into a processing of marijuana is going to require us to opt back into the whole act, to my understanding. So I don't know where the information came from about a moratorium. A moratorium would be something limited, 6 months, a year and a half, 2 years, whatever. Is there documentation of that? I don't know. So, any comment or no comment today? Okay. Is my time up?
Thank you.
Who else? Yeah.
Back on March 21st, you held a public budget meeting. It was my understanding that a budget has to be passed by the entire board. We've never seen that come before this board in April or today. It's not on your agenda. Have you ever approved a budget?
The budget was approved that day.
No, it wasn't. You said that was tentative. It was a preliminary. That's what you said.
No, I said it was a preliminary worksheet. So we could see what was last year, what was going to be for the coming year.
Please don't talk amongst yourselves,
Why?
because I asked in the beginning, public comment is for the board, not you talk amongst yourselves. Did you hear me? All right. Thank you. We don't. It's a comment. That's where you make your comment. You, Stephanie?
Yes, I understood it was a preliminary budget that you guys were talking about, given the fact you didn't answer if it was even a balanced budget or not, because nobody could speak to the expenditures or revenues. So if you're telling us you passed a balanced, that you passed a budget, and have no clue if it was balanced or not, there's something going on. Very disturbing what you guys are doing. That's not what you said.
Anybody else? Yes.
I just wanted to bring to the board's attention that DMCI is a telephone provider as well. And I saw that in the new business, so if it's not too late and there's an opportunity there, I appreciate the chance. And I'll stay through that part of the meeting as well to answer any questions.
Hi, my name's Mary Mintz, and I would just like to get a few things clarified because I did view the meeting that was held when you were talking about the marijuana, and I too am confused with moratorium, because if you opted out and Somerset Township also opted out, you never went into it, and a moratorium is a pause on something that was already existing. So I'm very confused with that as well. And insofar as the budget, did you give a 7-day notice to the public as to where they could see the proposed budget that was going to be passed at the March 21st meeting? Because that's required. Thank you.
All right. Anybody else? Seeing none, we're gonna move on. Old business. DMCI camera update.
Thank you, board. So, was it February or March that you passed to upgrade the camera system? The equipment that I purchased, I thought we'd be able to adopt the current cameras. I spent hours in the basement without success. Went back to research, and unfortunately, this particular model doesn't have the right software on it. So what I did at no additional cost to the township is I installed new cameras that are actually a better camera, and they have better lenses. And DMCI, we chose to maintain the same price to the township to get the job done. What that did, though, is now you have two systems you'll be managing for the short term. What I would encourage, as your budget allows, is make a transition with all of the cameras to the new system. I apologize for the inconvenience, but it was, I thought what I thought was incorrect. We did, so just for your knowledge, because of the cost of the new cameras was significantly higher than what we had budgeted. DMCI, I don't think we lost any money, but we didn't make any money either. So I just want you to know that we did that because of our relationship there.
very much appreciated this, that was really nice of you guys.
Okay, moving on to the flagpoles. Flagpoles, two flagpoles, one for the cemetery is a 20-foot, 4-inch base, 125 external halyard commercial ground sleeve set, one-piece aluminum. That's price that is here is $1,395.95. That will withstand a wind of 98 miles per hour. The second flagpole is a 25-foot, 5-inch base. It's $1,880.95. It will withstand a wind of 107 miles per hour. Both of them come with ropes, flags, and installation is total at $1,900. So the total cost is $53.23 for flagpoles. And now it could be installed before Memorial Day. The one in the cemetery will be installed before Memorial Day. So what I'm asking is to approve the flagpoles.
I motion to approve.
No second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. Next up is the additional cost of Brown Road project. So the total price of the project as we see it is $62,700. It came in, we were told initially, $21,800 and some dollars. That wasn't true, that was a misprint. Total cost, our share was $43,700. That covers Brown Road from North Adams Road to Addison Road. So what we're doing is to allow for the increase, the new cost for Brown Road project. So I would entertain a motion to do Brown Road in the amount of $43,700. I'm sorry?
I just did try.
Motion.
Motion made
No second.
and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. Okay.
You want to roll call?
Yes.
Jason?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
I am a yes.
Me too. Yes, also. Okay, June 7th is our cleanup date. I've already spoke with the dumpster people. Some signs are out showing that the cleanup is June 7th. That'll be here at the Township Hall. It runs from 8 till 2. Last year, we filled 2 dumpsters. I'd like to see that again this year. Also, we will be having a metal bin from Lake Pleasant Recycling. We've been in contact with them, and they will have one here also. So that's just let everybody know.
Did you know Lake Pleasant is doing trash now?
Yes, I found that in there. They said they would give me a price. However, they said for me to call a week before in order to lock it in. And I don't see that I can wait a week before to get that done. So I talked to Liberty Landfill, and they'll have 2 dumpsters here with It's on the signs, if you look at the one outside by the driveway here, and there's signs north, south, east, and west.
Okay.
That tells you the date and the times. Also, it tells you no tires, no batteries, no paint.
And the metal, what are the restrictions there, the metal, is there
You can't bring refrigerators with Freon.
No appliances.
They have,
no appliances?
they'll take the appliances, but Freon has to be gone. You can't have any Freon.
What if you have something that's metal but it's got like a coating on it, will they take that? That's
More
okay?
than likely.
Yeah,
And if not, throw it in the other one.
okay. There you go, there's an answer.
Okay, so, track repair in the parking lot, you see Dawson Asphalt. I contacted them, I contacted RDK, and, between the two, Dawson was the one that gave me the estimate back. I couldn't get one from RDK, so the estimate on doing the project at 25,353 square feet. This includes 2 re-shred parking lots, back to existing specifications, and, total cost is $4,050. I did entertain a motion to have Dawson,
That's Fred's too.
yeah, Reese. I entertain a motion for, Dawson Asphalt to do the crack repairs, seal coating, and striping.
I'll motion.
I'll second. Motion made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, moving on, new business, telephone system. What you,
Yeah.
Currently we got old fashioned, our lines, just a couple phones they can buy at Walmart and Myers for our phone systems. We're in that spot, we have no Comcast, nothing here to get upper internet speeds and our bills to go up, seem like Frontier. So I contacted a place out of Lansing, and they're gonna bring down like a 30-day trial to put on to prove that the Verizon 5G, like a little router deal. To try here and see what kind of speed we can get by that router for 30 days to try it. If we get some decent speeds, off our heater, then we could possibly just dump Frontier possibly, or some other, dump Frontier and then, get, internet through that Verizon and get our phone system. That would be voice over internet phones, because those are cheaper than, because everybody's getting away from the standard full power line. So we're gonna, I would just ask if the board would like to contact them to try that 30-day trial for that router there. Then if it works out, we can have the speeds for those several days, for a few weeks, when we go out and get bids on for our phone system and stuff. That would just be voice over net for the phones in office there.
Did he tell us how much the Verizon router would be after?
Afterwards, it's basically $100 is what Verizon's website says for 200 megabytes per second. That's obviously that's what they're saying on their site-wise there. So if we can do something like that versus what we got now, because our speed test I ran on Friday was just above dial-up speed dial-wise kind of stuff. That's Frontier-wise. So we can try that and then go and get a few bids for some just a basic phone system for office here.
I would be interested in the 30-day trial.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll go ahead and give him a call and all kind of stuff.
Okay, you need motion on having that done. Let's just do a motion then.
I'll motion. I'll second.
Motion made and seconded to have David contact and update the router for a 30-day trial. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, next on the agenda, office furniture.
Okay, I want to shell, what they call a shell, it's 66 by 30. And also there would be 2 full pedestals. These are 16 width by 28 inches high. There are 3 drawers. And then there would be a, what do they call that? A lateral. There would be a lateral drawer. It's 2 drawers. What I want with this is that our pallets are not secure in boxes on the floor. All of these items, the pedestal, the 2 drawer lateral cabinet, which is 36 inches wide, 22 inches deep, all of those are lockable. Okay, the return reversible, there would be kind of like how it's set up now, like the one I have now is 19.5 inches, then it goes down this way, which is where everything would sit under except for the 2 drawer. The total cost on that, delivered, put together, is $1,600.50. But that way, everything that sits out and around, this would also, I can use it for storage, for envelopes or folders, everything that sticks up top. It'll just be a more professional look. It'll give me some drawers so you can actually use it and not have stuff all over.
I entertain a motion to purchase.
I'll make a motion to purchase.
I would second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Moving on.
And so everyone knows, the discount that we got from Turn Office Supplies, because it was from calendar year, I got the first bids for some items in March. The new catalog then came out. The normal cost on this would be $3,372. So you know, so going in early paid off.
Okay. Excuse me. Planning Commission. As you know, how difficult it is, and they're working hard trying to get everything fixed. So they're asking for an increase in pay. Chairperson $75, vice chair $75, secretary $75, and then $50 for the members. I think that's well within reason.
I can find it when all this started.
No. So, if you'd like to discuss it, I don't see that they're outrageous. I've seen the work they're doing. Some people may not think that's enough, but I think they're doing a good job. So, I would entertain a motion to, give the raises to the planning commission as requested.
I'm gonna abstain.
Yeah, you're on the planning
Yeah.
commission.
I'll make a motion to give a raise.
I'll second.
The motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, moving on. Treasurer's notes.
Nothing going on, just I just presented the investments to the board at
Working Frontier, $202 an hour on our phones.
Yes. Right.
Yeah, that's what we're doing right now. For basically 2 phones and the internet. And then one package. That's why we're good at that. Other than that, all the insurance stuff and the fire.
So I'll entertain a motion to pay the bills in the amount of $41,825.05.
Make a motion to pay the bills.
Motion made
I'll second.
and seconded. All in favor? All opposed? Okay. Cemetery. Cemetery bills are $3,820. I entertain a motion to pay the bills for the cemetery in the amount of $3,820.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Moving on, clerk's notes.
The election, I sent out 32 ballots, I got 18 back. We finally got the problem of, the ballots sitting up at the Detroit Processing Center. They started to trickle in. I still called approximately 7 people to see, because I didn't know who had returned one. For the simple reason I didn't know what was up there. They might have mailed it, but I didn't have it. So I called, that got an extra 3, and people were already planning on it. So that's how we ended up there.
That it?
That's it.
And I'm going to speak. Right. We go back into public comment.
You don't think he's done?
No. Mr. French?
On the marijuana thing you're gonna wanna look into, being that they manufacture a product, any property they buy would have to be zoned industrial.
Yeah, we haven't even heard back from
We
you.
ain't there.
Just be aware of that, because that usually doesn't go very well.
Who's next? Yeah.
How many meetings can Mr. Shanna, miss without being taken off from the board?
Another one?
Just asking, is there a number? I mean, he seems to be absent regularly.
I'll go through what I got. I haven't seen anything yet.
Anybody else? Yeah.
Just questions, like I've not been to your meetings before. Do you have regular office hours here? No, how do I get, I'm sorry?
There's a notice right out front, it's 5 o'clock.
Okay.
Anybody else?
Yes. Will the marijuana ever be put on the ballot for people? I just want to say I'm 100% against it because all the talking they did, they want to have room to enlarge to what?
Okay. Anybody else? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Almost.
Motion made. Motion made and seconded. All